is the right age to introduce these conflicts into their life. We cannot control that situation, but at least we can control that how we react, how we feel about that thing. At least that emotion should come out from them naturally.
I was excluded. Even though I went in, I was in the uniform, I didn't feel part of it.
When a child is punished, where's the teaching point?
We all need structure. We pulled her out of school. She's at home, we're just doing whatever we're doing. And she's still, Mom, can I go to the toilet? You don't need to ask.
This is Lyca Extra, the sound for the British Asian generation. A part of the Lyca Radio Network.
Hey, this is Donny Brasco. I'm back for another chat. It's Lyca Extra, baby. Hope your Thursday is going pretty well. I got educated because I've been calling it homeschooling, and then they came in straight away. They're like, Donny, no, it's home education. That's what we're going to be talking about today. I think since COVID, a lot of people have started dabbling with it, thinking about it. I haven't got kids, and I've already started asking the questions. So I've got some lovely people in today that are going to be talking about home education. Lyca Extra. Make sure you like, subscribe, share, comment, knock on your Parosi's house and tell them to watch this video. And then message in on Lyca Live. It's Lyca Extra, baby. Hey, everyone. How we all doing? We all good? Oh, this is nerve-wracking because you're all looking at me like crazy. Right, looking like crazy. And I feel like I'm going to get tested right now. I've got potentially people that take the education system very serious, which is beautiful. But I think we just go around. I'll just get your name, right? How old your children are, and if you're pro or against home education. Yeah.
I'm Shusha, and I have a nearly 11-year-old daughter, and we've been home educators for 5 years.
Right.
Hey, my name's Svarna. I have 3 children, and they are 7, 11, and 14. And we've done a mix of everything.
Okay, you've done whatever. Nice.
Hi, my name is Ashwini. I'm mother of 2. My elder one is 22, is working, and my younger one is 16. I am against homeschooling.
I'm shocked you got a 22-year-old baby. Go on.
My name's Urvi, and I've got 2 girls, aged 7 and 5. We've done a bit of flexi schooling. My older one homeschools, and my younger one goes to school. So we've got a bit of a mixture.
Bit of both. Okay, and yourself?
Hi, my name is myself, Sona. I have a son who's going to turn 4 tomorrow, and I'm against homeschooling, and he goes to this school, I think from the age 8 months, so like daycare.
Oh, wow.
And since then he is there into the building or society or with the world there.
All right, I'm going to go straight in. Right, I've with home education, we're teaching at home, homeschooling. But what's the term? Home education now.
Yes.
Who chooses the term? What happened? Were you calling it? Who chose this term?
It's the statutory term.
They say it happens. So run me through, okay? So we've got some here that do a mix, some that are pro, some that are against as well. One of the biggest things I've got about home education is, and I think if I was to ask myself the question, because I've got a friend recently, she's pulled her son out of school. And I'll give you the reasons later on anyway, because I actually want to hear what your reasons are and why you made the choices. But the biggest thing I thought of when I heard this is he's already got situations of development and conversation with other children in their age group. Because I think with social media, I've seen it, even when I'm out DJing, how people interact with everyone is very changed and it's getting harder. Everyone I know at university says they're having a very hard time at university because they couldn't meet people in their classes. So straight away with home education, is the fear of not integrating something that is quite worrying? Or is it something you think you can do without? And I'll put that out straight away. Who wants to jump in as well? I want a cat fight today. Honestly, the whole reason is, right, I got married recently, and I'm under a consensus it's a hard time to bring children up in this world anyway. So there's some people that are saying to me, don't even have children. But I'm like, no, but I feel for the betterment of if we need to give the world more better humans, right? Fundamentally, better humans for the world, and them to have the better opportunities, because that's what we're doing it for. So what I want from today is to work out, do we home educate and will I lose anything? Or do we send them to school and to try and give the most I can? So I think that's the argument that we're going to try and drive forward today. If that helps understanding things.
That's fantastic.
Who's feeling brave?
I think when people look at home education or homeschooling, what term you want to put at it, the biggest misconception that I feel and the most asked question that I get is, how does your child socialize? And everyone has this fear that my child, I think there's a perception that we've got our kids at home, locked away from the outside world, wrapped up in cotton wool, doesn't see anyone, sits behind a desk, and we bring the school life into the home, when it could be further from the truth. I feel like, and especially from my experience, and I'm sure these guys can vouch, I feel like my child who home educates has a better socializing circle than my child at school. At school, you're kind of told how to interact with people, who you're allowed to interact with, what age group you're interacting with, what you can say, what you can't say. There's a lot of restrictions at school.
Right.
You get your 1 hour break, one or two breaks, whatever you get at school. Whereas when your child is at home, they get to interact with mixed age groups, whether it's children that are younger than them, whether it's children that are older than them. And that's a life skill that you're learning right there, from age 4.
Forgive my ignorance. How are they meeting other children? You've got 2 children.
So they're meeting other children because we have a huge home ed community, which people don't actually know about. We also take our children to clubs, extracurricular activities. There's a lot of opportunity out there for our kids to meet other children or other adults, whether it's other homeschooled children or school children. And they get that opportunity to meet them whenever they like, whenever they want to. There's no restrictions. And so, that whole misconception of our kids don't get to socialize, I think really, I would love if people could just change their mindset of that, because it's really not true.
But isn't that just choosing your own school?
No, I'm just like, because this is a different viewpoint. So when you say like there's a whole community. Mm-hmm. So are you the teacher, or is there another teacher teaching somewhere online, I believe? Right.
So I think you can't really label homeschooling or put every family into one box. Everyone educates their children at home differently. Mm-hmm. So there are going to be people who literally unschool and educate their children completely child-led. There's people who are going to do a mixture of things. And there's people who are going to literally school at home.
So when you say school at home, is it like you're going to follow the 9 to 2
curriculum,
the calendar?
9 to 3.
Like it's like 30 minutes of this subject and 30 minutes of this subject.
Yeah, so it's completely up to that individual family how they choose to home educate. Personally, for me, we do a mixture of things. So I will do my core subjects with my children, and the rest can be child-led. Whatever their interests are, I will plan a topic based around that. Field trips.
Is the parents are the teachers out there?
Again, it varies. For me, I'm the teacher for my child. But there are parents who maybe they don't feel comfortable teaching their children. They don't want to have the teacher role. They might be working, so they can outsource that. You can literally do anything you want to do.
But then how about I'm just saying that when a child goes to the school, they meet their age group, they meet people of different cultures, different backgrounds. I'm not going into other deeper diplomatic things, but I'm just saying like they're coming from different backgrounds. Some kids' parents would be professionals at some corporate, some parents would be like doing their own business. Of course, their kids would have their different mindset. And some kids have like mom, like a home working mom or something they're doing at the home. Mm-hmm. So your child goes to the school and they see or they interact with a very diverse group. How do you counter that thing at the homeschooling? Like, because here you said like the child can choose their own circle.
Yeah.
But here it's like, they're given as an ocean, like you choose, like not choose, but at least you go and test each and everything.
But I think there's a little bit of a disconnect there. I think what Ulf is trying to say is that we have access to huge amounts of home education groups. So the kids could go to forest school, there could be meetups, they can do class like sports activities, they could do music lessons, and while they get to choose the activity that they may want to attend, that's not preventing them from having that diverse interaction.
That's the extracurricular activities you're talking about.
So these extra activities that you're saying they can go, are they?
It can be daytime.
They could be kids that are at school They could be schooled, or they're
it's-
only for
No,
homeschooled, educated.
it's a variety. So, for example, my daughter does piano lessons, but that's during the day. She used to do gymnastics, and that was a home education group during the day. But she also swims at a swim club. She does karate, and those are after-school activities. So it's not school at home. It's really difficult to
There's no
explain.
division with
No, but I get-
school and after school.
Yeah.
It all becomes a whole lifestyle.
Yes.
Because
So
it's every day. Every
it's
day is a lesson
So we're
plan.
not saying these are extracurricular activities. It's part of our lifestyle. It's something that we're giving. It's an opportunity
Those
you're
skill
giving to your
sets.
child, whether that's at 9 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock after school club. So
But I suppose the core subjects, we're talking about the written, sit down, doing things
Yeah.
like English, running a play. You know, we were talking about a play off camera earlier on. Like, I get you have systems again that people are like, I know we've heard of loads of things like Human, where they have extra learning and stuff like that to go. I think we have some that sponsor with us as well here at Lyca, but further education. I suppose that's something, because even me, when I was at school, I'd still tuition. You know, I'd still get extra hours tuition, or my parents would still spend some more time. But what I think the fundamental is, and correct me wrong, actually, you know, you're for going into schools, right? So you're against homeschooling. And I think one of the reasons I say is I think things like learning how to deal with competition against other children, you know, I remember how much it used to hurt to put your hand up and not being answered. You don't get the opportunity to answer. And I think that's something that's really made me help now, that even though I'm in a world where my opinion is important, but I work alongside 100 other people whose opinions are equally important, and I've got to learn, even though I might be big-headed, that I need to hold my place. How do you get that?
I believe, Donnie, it's all about being inclusive, okay, and the feeling of belonging. So, according to me, school gives you a structure to be there in this whole diverse world. And everybody, all of us, we have our identity and we need this feeling of belonging, right? Now, today we all are sitting here and Donnie is kindly including all of us in this discussion. So all these small bits, I
Kindly, I like
believe,
that.
we just learn.
like that.
we learn from school, right? The school has a structure. Why schooling is important for me, and both my kids have been in school, and I always supported them for extra clubs as well, because they go to fantastic school. Okay, now it's not a grammar school, but they're going to the state school, and I love the structure the school has. Basically, it starts in the morning. We all need structure in our
Right.
day-to-day life. We get up early in the morning, then we have the whole day, then we have to study, we have to deal with so many people, right? Some can be inclusive, some can be bullying you, some can become friends. How do I develop all the skills which are needed when it comes to the outside world, right? At home, I am there to keep my kids cotton safe always. I know my kids very well. Okay, I know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are, but the world outside that door, they don't know. So I have to let them go outside. I need them to understand this is the outside world. I am there for you whenever you need me. But if I don't let them experience what the world is outside,
But
how will they learn to
aren't
deal
you
with
ever
that?
scared of the outside world?
Sorry?
Are you scared of the outside
that's a
world?
reality.
I'm scared of the outside
No,
world.
because this is
That's a reality. If
this
you
is
talk-
another
if-
reason I would teach my child at home, because
No, but
they'll
it's, like,
get it's
but
London.
that's a reality. It's not about London, India, or Dubai or Iran, anything.
Exactly.
But that's a reality which is happening right now, which is beyond our control. We cannot control that situation, but at least we can control that how we react, how we feel about that thing. At least that emotion should come out from them naturally. And that natural thing, I also believe, comes out from the school structure. Like, I'll give an example. I might be too junior in terms of handling the kids because you guys are too senior to that. I'm still raising a rising toddler. He's still 3 or I would say 4 in a day time. So he was going into the daycare, like a private daycare, since 8 months old. Too small child. But then after 3 years of age, I put him into a proper school, like a primary school, but which has a nursery. So I know nursery is still like a preschool. So I did send him there. He goes there with a dress up like a school uniform. He knows he cannot choose his clothes. He has to follow the same uniform. In that class, he was playing with some other kids also. They were playing with dinosaurs on the table.
Yeah.
And some other boy took the dinosaur with whom my son was playing. So I never taught him that how to react if somebody takes your toy. But what I got to know that my son, instead of going to the teacher, instead of going to anybody, he got up, snatched it, and the other boy did not give him, so he slapped him. So now somebody will say, I got a complaint also from a teacher that your son slapped today. I'm like, that's not the reaction or emotion we taught him. It's something which came out of him naturally, seeing the situation there, what he was
You're
trying
lucky they're trying to put it on you.
Yeah, it's like, so teacher would be like, are the parents teaching? I'm like, no, we just have one child. We are not having siblings. So I don't know where he learned this fighting thing. But that was something naturally which came out of him at that moment. So I was like, that kind of a thing, maybe he might have seen some kids fighting for their toys. Maybe he has grasped from how he has seen the world. For him, that classroom is the world for him. At 25 kids learning and playing and fighting with them, that's the world for him right now. So I think maybe he might have caught up that one.
Yeah, I agree totally with
I think
you.
it's Peppa Pig.
Do you think that the school supported you and your son in the way that you wanted? Okay.
So the school did mention, like, school cannot really control what we do at home. They will just say, like, this is how your kid reacted in the school. And of course, we know slapping to somebody is not right. So of course, we go and tell him, no, Summer, you cannot do this one.
I like what you said there. What did the school do to support that?
The school did that. The school also told him, like, this is not the right way. You should have come to the teacher. You should have come to me. Like, I could have helped you to settle around or give you the other toy. So the teacher did explain him.
But we're teaching independence.
Independence is fine. But of course, if somebody is doing something wrong, there has to be interference that this is wrong. Slapping somebody is wrong. You could have come to me, asked for it.
Did they tell the other boy that snatched the toy that was wrong?
Both the boys were taken to the corner, what I was told by the teacher. Of course, they did not tell this was the other son because that they cannot do. So they did handle the conflict. They explained him that you should have come to me or asked the boy, like, please, can I have my toy back? And that's the thing I think I liked how the teacher handled the situation and how they taught that thing. And after that, so my son also has some friends and I was like, if they fight for a toy and he's like, no, like share. And they're like, okay, sharing. But mama, he is not sharing. So I'm like, can you please ask him, please share. So at least now he doesn't, so he knows that slapping somebody or raising hands is wrong. Because that's how the teacher or myself or my husband told him to do that. So now, so I think that's how they learn. He's too young.
Yeah, it's all about learning the skills. So when it comes to the schools, Donnie, what I like the fact about schools here, my sister lives in United States. So kids don't have to wear uniforms there. I come from India. In India, we wear uniforms. My kids, they went to a particular school. They have beautiful, lovely blazers and neckties, and they have to be very, very particular. Like the nails are not allowed. They have to wear a black rubber band. They cannot show off the jewelry. I think it's all about uniformity. Yeah.
Is that teaching them how to, how to come out in the real world? Because do we all wear the same clothes? Do we all have that when we grow up as adults?
It's a little bit of discipline.
Exactly. It's all about getting, again, under what is uniformity, right? Because my sister's kids in New Jersey, they go to school and half of the kids, they're trying to show off their clothes, their shoes. Why are we going to school? We are going to learn something. We are learning the basics. As Sona rightly said, her son he was learning to put his foot down. Okay. He wanted to understand how to get the toy back. Yes, his teacher was very helpful. She taught him the right way to approach.
Yeah.
It's all about, for me, it always matters if the parents are sorted in all the manner, beautiful. But we all have our experiences, Donnie.
So from what I get is it seems like there's an education aspect of it. There's an integration aspect, and it seems a behavioural aspect as well. Because then again, this works on the age group. Now, 3 I think is a very influential age. I just babysat 2 little 3-year-olds, my friend's little twins. And it was a bit hard. I made pasta and they said they don't like pasta, it's stinky. It took me about 20 minutes to go over it, but it's 20 minutes I shouldn't have wasted thinking about my pasta. It's little kids, man. They ate it at the end of it all, but it was stinky for a while. And it just makes me, it's a very influential woman. So basically my missus, she works with PR in books. So she does a lot of children's books. There's a lot of, and she works with ethnic books. So this is Black and Asians. They're called BAME and they put them together. So she's got a current book at the moment, which is My Rice is Best. And that's what and all it is I think they've got someone from India, someone from China, and then someone from another country, and they're just comparing which rice is best. And one has it this way in biryani, one has it like, I don't know, different rice, fried rice, whatever. And it was interesting because at first, when these kids picked on the book, they weren't interested. Rice, it wasn't something that appealed to them. But the mum, when she came back, she sat them down, forced them to sit down, and put them down on her lap and educated. And I thought it was really beautiful that she could give that attention. I don't see that attention in schools, right? And I feel at the moment, as much as I love schools, I don't think it's about, we were talking about identity uniforms. I don't think they're trying to teach you how to stand out. What we're trying to teach you is how to be equal. And then once like the bottom line, it's Maslow's hierarchy. You need to know the fundamentals, how to
Exactly,
exist.
yeah.
Everyone's cussing The Apprentice at the moment, saying they're using very basic skills. But I think we need to learn the basics. Now, you've had children that have done both. You've had children that have done both. But has anyone had the younger ages of homeschooling? Like, has anyone done it?
Yeah.
Share something like that, because behaviour is hard, isn't it?
Behavior is hard. You have to look at how a child's brain develops. And when they're developing, let's look at their executive function, for example.
Yeah.
There isn't a linear growth model for how a child's executive function skills develop. And there isn't a one-size-fits-all.
Can I just put in layman's executive function meaning?
Looking at their working memory, looking at their cognitive abilities,
Right.
How do they process information. So, for example, that situation with your son, he's just developing his prefrontal cortex, he's developing his executive functional skills. And so what you're looking for a child to be successful is an environment where can they develop at their own pace? What is the workload that they can process? And now for some children, when they're overloaded with stimulus, when there's too many children around them, when there is so much noise, when there are so many wants and how to get your voice into the pot as well, it can be a natural reaction, not because that kid who lashes out physically is a bad kid. There's no such thing as a bad kid, but they just haven't processed all the information yet. So when you're looking at integrating into society, I think that was the word you used earlier, what you want to do is create an environment where they can pause, where they can think. And some children will be really successful in a competitive environment. Some children will thrive at school, but every child needs individualized learning. And some children can get that in a classroom. But the fact is that some children can't. Our schools are overloaded. Our teachers, there is a mass exodus of the teaching industry. If you look at the staff turnover at any of the schools, doesn't have to be your school, why are so many teachers leaving? They're overloaded.
Yeah,
The
it's too
government
much.
is putting so many demands on them. There are so many box checking exercises. And so when they have that, you cannot provide individualized learning. You cannot provide something where everyone can thrive. Maybe the best you can do is just go at the pace of the lowest common denominator, going at the pace of take the child that's struggling with the most things. That's the fastest they can go. When you're looking at coming back to this point about integrating, so children, when they're stressed, they can't process information. So it's not that all schools are producing stressed children. So many of the children from our community have gone to school and they're amazing. They're incredible children. And honestly, even I look at them and think, did I overthink the education? Do we really need to go down this path? These kids have turned out amazing.
Why did you choose it?
Okay.
Like, why break the system? Why be a salmon?
For me personally, I looked at the classroom and I felt that the children are at school for at least 6 hours a day. And out of that 6 hours, they get one break, sometimes two. That's like 15 minutes. And they get a 1 hour lunch. And of that 1 hour lunch, half an hour at least is spent eating. And I wanted to raise my children in a world where they could connect with the outdoors. this sharing example is such a good one. Why do children in classrooms have conflict? Take them out into nature. There's an abundance of leaves, unlimited amounts of trees. There are no limits. There's enough of everything for everyone. But put them in a classroom and there isn't enough of everything for everyone. Now, one day they do have to navigate a world, like you said, where there isn't enough of everything for everyone. And how do you get that job? How do you come to the top? But then we come back to brain development. We come back to when is the right age to introduce these conflicts into their life? And so these things, I feel, were a part of why we started considering home educating. So one aspect was spending time outdoors. Another aspect of who is shaping your children. The first 5 years, or when so many of the pathways in the brain are developed, the first 5 years is when so many of us don't remember our first 5 years, but we remember the feeling. We remember who was dear to us. We remember who invested in us. So you're creating impressions in the heart. And the first 5 years does this. So for me, I felt that, okay, I want my family to be the biggest influence on my child's life. And when our children are spending more time with people outside of the family than within the family, we start getting imbalances in society. It's a very unnatural way of existing. If you look at why schools were developed, who is running the schools, these are some of the things that I think feed into the decisions that parents make. So I don't know.
I do really kind of like what you're saying there, and it makes sense. I think putting that attention onto your child versus someone out there, because I go through the same thing, man. I see teachers on Instagram, and I feel embarrassed that they're a teacher. I can't help it. I can't help it. Maybe that's how I was there, but I sat there and I thought, would I let them have the influence over my child? Yeah. Do I want them? And then the other factor is I made a little passing comment about it being London. The child I talked about who got pulled out as GCSEs was because 4 times he was pulled up at knife crime in school hours. And there's little things like these. I'll say the example, the boys in school asked him to come out, and being a young male in East London, he couldn't say no because that was a sign of weakness. And this has nothing to do with the education.
Then you're talking about the safety aspect.
Well, I think this is another aspect of why I would not send my kids to school, because I know other people on religious aspects don't want their children learning about LGBTQ. Yeah, and that's a big thing. Like, most people are moving to Dubai, won't say it, but for that reason.
Yeah, but Donnie, we have to make our kids educated in so many areas of life. We get literate when we go to school, but we are educated on different aspects, okay? When it comes to behavior, as you rightly said, yes, first 5 years are very crucial. My daughter has seen groupism, okay? Now she is appearing in her GCSE. But rest of the years, she understood what groupism means. Like, she is never going to repeat that to others because she has faced that. She learned her own patterns.
When you say groupism, as in like being excluded from
yes, I think most of the
crews, right?
Bullying is also there, but excluding, not being included in the activities. So my daughter has faced that. But because of that, she understood, this is the way it works in outside world as well. Like all of us, we are grown-up adults. We all are not included everywhere, right? There is a group at your workplace. There is a group in your family. There is a group in your society.
Friend circle as well.
Yeah, in friend circle as well.
Did you have to step in when that was happening to your daughter to navigate the whole conversation?
Yeah.
Or did the school support?
School supported me. Touch wood. Luckily, both my kids went to a fantastic school, and the school was always available.
It's hard. It's hard because both of you mentioned. Problems. I think both, even though you're for school, you got good schools.
Yeah.
I'm not going to outside my school. I went to a decent school. Like, they're okay. We never have real issues, but we would be on the bus, and if our tie wasn't on correctly, we'd be in trouble. Like, I'd got detention willy-nilly for nothing. Mm-hmm. I was excluded because birthday beats happened. So there's things that I didn't realise that happened in my life at school that had an effect on my life. And again, like I said, I was privately educated. And then I went to grammar school. Mm-hmm. But at grammar school, I had a real problem of class, because even though grammar's no money, what you find is rich people want to save money, so their kids are still at the grammar schools, and they've got 10 years of private education. So I was in another world, and over there I found that I couldn't deal with this.
So fantastic. As initially when we started the discussion, I said it's all being inclusive and the feeling of belonging.
Yeah, but I didn't get it. I was excluded. Even though I went in, I was in the uniform, I didn't feel part of it. My mum was a single parent.
Yeah.
She was a dirty woman. I was growing up in the 90s, right? So they were labelled like that. So school wasn't a great place. And then I found out one of my best friends who used to phone me every day when I got home was phoning me. He's already had an hour and a half to do his studies. And now he's wasting my time, and I wouldn't go sleep until 9 o'clock, then up at 6 to go back to school, hour and a half journey. So I do kind of get it. There's something about, like, I feel you feel let down from your school.
Yeah, so going back to the whole conflict situation, so I've seen it on both sides, because I've got a child who home educates and a child who's at school.
Right.
The child who is at school has been in conflicts, and every time we've had a discussion, I don't think it matters if you're at a bad school or a good school. I think it's how the capacity of the teacher, how they can deal with each individual situation that happens in the classroom. There's 30 children. Yeah. There's no way that you can accommodate to every single child in the way that they need. And what I found, every time there is a conflict with my younger child, she'll come and tell me, and the result of that conflict is normally punishment. Okay, the boys are playing too violently with the football gets taken away. This person maybe hit another person, so they're not allowed a break time. Those are all punishments. But for me, if that happened at home, in a home education setting, whether it was at a forest school or a workshop, or my kids are with other children and that happened, it would be a learning point for my child. It wouldn't be a punishment, because when you punish the child, they're not actually learning anything. They're learning that, okay, life isn't fair. I might not always get what I want, but how are they learning how to deal with that conflict? How are they learning that when a child is punished, where's the teaching point?
Right. I see this with my eldest girl as well. So she's 14 now, and she was home educated from the beginning until she reached secondary school age. And we're very grateful to the school. There are a lot of amazing things about the school, but it's undeniable, even in the best schools, what I am seeing is that 80% of the time is spent in classroom management. And it's dealing with situations like this, that the actual learning, if you take a child's academic learning, they can do it in probably a quarter of the time, maybe even quicker. A lot of studies are showing that home educated children can cover academics in 1 to 2 hours a day, probably even less.
Fantastic. I totally
because of the one-to-one
agree about that
tuition.
point. Yeah.
But so much of the classroom is dealing with classroom management. And yes, children do need to learn to navigate conflict.
I'm talking about the other skills, because when in real world, nobody actually cares what you feel unless they are very close to you, they're your friends, they're your family.
How do you
as parents,
how do you think that school allows your child to deal with the real world? What in specific, in particular, are your children learning that you think, okay, they're ready for the real world now?
And just to follow up on that question, if you're looking at learning real life skills, in real life, we are not surrounded by people the same age as us. In real life, we're not surrounded by people broadly from the same demographic. Generally, schools work on a catchment area, so there's a certain level of, I don't know what the word is, but a certain level of similarity in wealth distribution amongst the families. So when I look at my child, who now is at secondary school, she had a much wider demographic of people to interact with when she was home educated. She also benefited that time from, so you're dealing with people from different backgrounds, you're dealing with people who have different interests. And there isn't this feeling of a rat race. There is some room to go home and process what has happened. And there are disadvantages to that too. But I do want to add on to Urvi's question about what is the solution for children at school?
So basically, you're saying you're not happy with the system. It's nothing to do with the like a homeschooling or not homeschooling. So
Well,
basically, you're saying
isn't that the reason you would change?
It's an education system. So do you think rather than being part of the system or trying to contribute to that system, exiting is the right way?
Because so just to answer your questions first, let's go there. So my daughter her teacher sat with her, okay, because, and then I also went and I said that this is something that's happening with my daughter. The groupism is there. She's not been included. The teacher sat with her. I was also there, and we had a communication. Okay, we had an elaborated talk at what she feels excluded, when she feels included. Okay, she gave her points, and the teacher had a word with the other kids as well who were not including her. So the talks were done in such a mature manner.
Yeah.
Neither of them felt targeted, but the communication was done in a very professional way and very approachable way.
But is that something you could teach at home yourself anyway?
Exactly, we can do that. But
Yeah.
if they are in school, they have to go with the system, as you rightly said. There is a system everywhere,
It's
right?
like theory versus practical implementation of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like at home,
We
I
learn
think
in books.
That's a fundamental change, isn't it? Is that what it is? You guys have problems with following the system.
Well, I don't think the system has been around for so long, and times have changed, technology's changed, people have changed. Has the system changed to match?
So when we say system, like, we're not talking about the fundamentals of the education and what's going in it, what's being taught, but we're talking how they deal with things.
Not just how they deal with it, but the actual national curriculum, the system in which everything is being taught. Has it been adapted to what a child needs now?
One thing I've got to say, right, and I think we should put this really out there. We're having a discussion, but I have to commend all of you ladies, right, on taking this process of being very active on your children. Because I think despite whichever way you decide, because fundamentally it's a personal thing, whichever way anyone's decided, it works the best for you. And we're just trying to, you're giving the kids the best that you can for whatever reasons are. What do you think could change in the system if you were to address one thing? Like if I've got some teachers, some people listening right now, someone from the curriculum listening right now, what do you think needs to change?
Yeah, it's a really good question. I would love to see, we're so lucky today. We have so much access to information, research, the outcomes of studies. And I would love to see our teachers be facilitated by the government. I would love to see the teachers be able to develop teaching strategies, develop lessons based on the current science around how a child's brain develops. I would love for them to I would love for these teachers to be able to make room in the curriculum, not just for academic subjects, which often are rote learned and then forgotten, but also what is it that makes someone a global citizen? What is it that makes you a good person? What is it that we need to do to help you so that when you are hurt in this school environment, you don't then turn around and go and hurt someone else? You know, in the 80s and 90s, and actually even now, there was a lot of physical bullying, but there's new types of bullying that comes in. It's relational bullying. It's cyberbullying, bullying, but also relational bullying that, you know, for the teenage brain, they really, more than anything, you mentioned this before, but the teenage brain really needs a sense of belonging. And it's so hard in the schools because on the one hand, you want to give them the opportunity to interact with other children, people from different backgrounds, but that isn't always happening in a successful way. Children are instead being subjected to relational bullying. And I see it with my daughter as well, that what we have are many leaders who feel that by becoming a bully, by exerting power, they're establishing their own position. But one day that will all be stripped away and they won't have the tools on how to be successful in life. The people that have been bullied, they will overcome it. But the schools don't have, we're not looking at good guy, bad guy. We're looking at that child in front of you. What can you do to put them in a situation where they can thrive? And when you have 30 kids in a classroom, there is a lot to be gained from the classroom. But when you have 30 kids in a classroom, you cannot do that for every child. It's not possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they only dress the loudest child in the room. You know, the distracted
That's
one
like saying
gets
that
the
individual attention thing. But that thing, like the school is there only for 6 hours. I'm just taking on an average, like 6 hours. No, that's our school. The school's education system is there for 6 hours. After that, it's not that the parents who are not doing the homeschooling, they're abandoning their child after 3 o'clock or 3:30 when they come back from the school. No, our role as a parent to educate them starts then.
Exactly.
Because schooling happens in that morning. I'll differentiate schooling and education. Schooling happens in the morning hour. And then our role as a parent comes in for educating them, not academically, but about in terms of their emotions, their behaviors, their all the habits, or just to even like have a conversation as a mother and a child. Like,
See,
what did you do at home?
You're skewing me because
What I've seen is that, so my daughter comes home from school, we could say 4 o'clock. We try to get some window of time in the morning together, but it's not a lot. And can I spend the same amount of time with her? Bring into the equation. I feel so fortunate, and it's a choice that I'm available at home. I can give all my time to her, but bring in the equation other siblings. Bring in that you may have a job. A child is spending 6 hours a day at school, but we can't really give them the same amount of time at home. So then we're looking at quality over quantity. Like you said, education doesn't stop. I think part of the challenge is how we're interacting with the schools. And a lot of parents, maybe not every parent, sometimes we're sending our child to school and we're handing everything over to the school. So for example, on our local WhatsApp group for parents for my child's age group, the parents at one point were saying, where's the rest of the homework? There isn't enough homework. And I came up with a list of things. I was like, if you're worried about a child's development, here are so many things you can do. Even simple things that are forgotten for teenagers, like doing a puzzle with them, going on a hike with them. A lot of these things help a child's
But I think what you just addressed, there's not a lot of parents potentially would, like they say they care, but do they care? Like, you know, you guys are very special here, man. I mean, my mum loves me, and yeah, she used to wake me up at 6 o'clock, but she was a teacher. Bottom line is she needs to go and live the rest of their life, or people need to do, people are working. So it's good that you're in situations, but I don't
It seems
know.
like we are also individuals. We are not. So I personally feel like, okay, my son is away for 6 hours. I'm handing. So of course I choose a school very, very carefully. Like I'm going to hand over my child. Like for 8 months old, I'm giving my child to you for the whole day. So I have to be very particular and cautious about where I'm sending my child.
Definitely.
But I also want, when the child comes back home, I want him or her to see that I'm coming to a safe place. So I don't want to be a exam invigilator or a teacher all the time. I want to be his mother, where he can come and tell me whatever has happened to him in the whole that 6 hours of the time. And then just as a listening person, not to just give my opinion on each and everything, but just to be there as a listening person, like, okay, somebody is listening to me.
I
But
think
I
that's a very
can't be
valid
like a
point.
teacher 24/7 to him, like, no, you have to do this is not right, this is not wrong, that kind of thing. But at least I want to be there, like, okay, I'm your listening person, just tell me whatever you're feeling. If you had a good day, a bad day, whatever it is, it's too young for him to say all this thing. But I still have to put words in his mouth. Did you play? Did you eat?
We have to get you back once he's become 12. If I'm being honest, I think because at three, if I'm sitting there thinking, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? I think your arguments are very valid. But then again, I think you've got a good school. Like you said about choosing schools, I know that it's very hard some areas because it's catchment areas, and then you have to choose a crap piece of fruit out of a bad bunch.
I literally went, just for the primary school, I went to around 15 schools.
Wow.
And to that level that we were deciding, okay, if we have to change our house, we will do it. But I need to go and see all the schools. So I went outside my borough, outside my council, just to see how the different council schools are attached, just to see the infrastructure, how the teacher feels like, how the environment feels like.
Okay, brilliant.
So that kind of a research comes to us as a parent, I believe.
Take that
It's not just by
responsibility,
going by the school,
And being a
Ofsted
parent.
ratings and everything. I need to go and see everything
What it
myself.
feels like,
And especially when, as a full-time working mother, I just can't be, 24/7 in the home. I need my sanity as well.
I think you've touched on something so important there. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to come back to the point about the safety at home. So my daughter did do reception in school, and for us, it was meant to be the best school in our borough. And every day she used to come home and there would be meltdowns. As soon as literally she would step into the house and she would just release all her emotions from the day. And that's not to say that she'd had a bad day at school, but it was like she was just holding in everything. And as soon as she came home, she knew it was her safe place, absolutely, because that's where she's allowed to do it. She'd get out of school, there would be other reprimands. And it was just that emotion. And so I think for us, it's also about preserving, nurturing the emotional well-being, because when they feel emotionally safe, when their well-being, their mental health is nurtured and, really sort of respected, I think that's when the learning can also accelerate. That's when it also brings in the safety, but it's also about really accelerating that learning. And it's also about taking them away out of this conditioning that the school environment does inevitably do to our children. For a year, I was actually close to 2 years after we pulled her out of school. She's at home, we're just doing whatever we're doing. And she's still, Mom, can I go to the toilet? You don't need to ask. You can go anytime. When you're at home, you would never ask. We as adults in the workplace, do we ask? We just go. We need to respect.
Well, I don't know. I still, to this day, I still say, excuse me, can I go? Or may I go? Not may I, but
I need to
excuse me, I need to
myself.
go.
Yeah.
And I think that's down to etiquette and manners.
That's you informing them. You're not asking permission.
Exactly.
And no one's going to say no to you as an adult.
Yeah.
So why are you restricting
Maybe she's
children?
a scary mum.
I
I mean, look at her.
She's
Checking.
asking all the time.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't need to. And it's taken her, it took her about 2 years to be, no, I can go whenever I feel like it. It's fine.
Yeah, but it's mad because when you go to work, you have to ask.
Do you?
Yeah.
No, but different. If you're working in retail, if you're working in a thing where you
Are
got...
you
There might be some-
informing?
No, you ask. Can I leave the shop floor? My first job...
I worked in retail. when I was
Yeah,
young.
my first job was CNA, and if I had to leave my position, you have to get... Yeah, you can, there's an element of informing, but you have to find out that there's someone to step into your role
Exactly.
while you go.
But that could be the kind of a rule or a policy or something.
Because I've got
that-
loads of
to
kids
make
now
sure
that...
you've got that cover.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
no one is
Yeah,
going to
but
turn around and
it's-
say you can't go right now. It's a basic.
Oh, no,
right.
a lot of managers stop you from going.
Yeah, it's interesting to say that. It's when you were young, you had that job. I guess the principle, is about, are we treating the child as a whole individual?
Yeah.
And much as society is conditioned to even treat teenagers like that. Maybe you were young when you had that
Well,
job.
yeah,
But
I was a
that-
teenager.
A person in a position of power can continue to enforce that. Why? Because they know the child went through a school system with that. And for me, it's not the bathroom. We can't go to the bathroom. It's the principle. How are we talking to the children when they're at school? What are we whispering into their ears? What are we saying
Yeah,
to
according
their
to me,
hearts?
for me,
But-
it's getting to make the kids understand that you have to learn certain things harder way. And it's okay because we all have learned certain things harder way. Our parents must have said, don't do that. But being a kid, we just wanted to explore that. And we were correct on our front, right? Something which is a 9 for me might be a 6 for you because you're sitting on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So we need to let them explore. And schools do that. And I think it's okay because that's their experience. And as a mother, I cannot be always there to protect my kids. That kids, I'm there. Today, when my kids are grown up, I say, I'm always there for you. I'm just a call away. Try to deal it yourself because I know you're capable. We all are capable.
It's interesting because we started off talking about homeschooling, but it seems like parenting is so much more than just the education part of it.
Yeah, of
We did come in with the basic.
Beyond the academics and marks.
It's not that, or what is it?
Yeah, it's competition is there, but how to tackle with that competition is something I think internal and external world has to come together and kind of nurture that thing. So, for example, I'll tell my son, that's hot, do not touch. I know it is hot, but how do I know? Because I have experienced that. But for my son, he has an experience. He will still go and touch that hot cup. Until the time he doesn't touch it, he won't listen to me because he's like, oh, it's hot, mama. So I'm like, no matter how much I tell him or how much the teacher tells them, do not do that. They will still go and experience themselves.
This is interesting, actually, because I think that, this is probably one of the premises that home education is built on as well. The idea that people do want their children to go and have experiences and not be restricted to classroom learning, not be restricted just to experiencing World War II through a PowerPoint system that's been presented on a screen. And it is that pursuit of experiences. So I feel like I sit on the fence. I've home educated, I've sent kids to school. And one thing that does feel undeniable is actually there are some experiences in school, like the relational type of experiences, but the actual experiencing life, sometimes it does feel a shame that so much of it is restricted to the classroom. And the places or schools where I've seen students thrive, it has been when the teacher has some flexibility, even for the smallest thing, to go and do a lesson outside or to take them on a field trip. Now, these experiences, children are entitled to them. Unfortunately, what I've seen at one of the schools that one of my kids goes to, these experiences are treated as a reward. If you are not collectively well behaved, then you don't get to go on that theatre trip next week. And because of the number of students in the classroom, because of the limited time, we have to resort, the teachers, the adults are having to resort to these tactics. But at what cost? Children aren't getting the opportunity to behave in ways which actually are developmentally
disciplined,
appropriate. They do need to be disciplined, but it is also developmentally appropriate to challenge the system, to be loud
the challenge here
sometimes.
is, dear,
And so how do we correct those children? Do we just keep dangling consequences over their head?
obviously, they need to understand there's a consequence for your action. Okay.
Yeah.
And the discipline is there to make them understand that if you keep on continuing this behavior, it's not good for you in every manner. Right? So when it comes to school, you were talking of mini leaders. There's another term called popular kids. Why certain kids are popular? Because they know how to come out and how they will stand in front of the whole class.
I will also interject and say they may know that, but I'm pretty sure 99% of the time, those children go home and they're not necessarily happy with themselves.
But this is
They're
what
not
our
necessarily at
assumptions
peace
might
with who
be.
they
This
are.
is our
I think
assumptions,
yeah,
right?
but
But
there's
that's
I think there's a big difference between confident and having self-esteem. Now, I won't necessarily want my child to have confidence, but what I do want for them is to have self-esteem, so that they truly in their hearts believe in themselves. So when they go out into the real world, they are able to handle any situation, whether it's negative or positive,
Right.
because they believe in who they are, they believe in their capabilities, they believe in themselves. Yes, they're going to face challenges. Yes, it's going to be hard work. But if you believe in yourself, you can overcome anything. Being confident and speaking in front of a stage with 500 people in the audience doesn't necessarily mean that you believe in yourself. You can learn how
There's
to
a difference
speak in
what
front of
we are
someone.
talking about. So being confident and the self-esteem is different. Now, as we said, mini leaders or popular kids, some of those kids, they misuse being popular or being looked as leader. But then other kids who can see if A is suffering and B kid enters, initiates there, okay, and she or he is there to protect her. There they learn how to initiate and be a leader there and to protect and maintain the safety and sanity of other person. And when other kids are looking at them, they feel, oh, that was really brave of her or him. Let me do that. And there, the unity, the community.
So
the
they learn
group
off other
starts.
people that's standing up to
Exactly.
any problems
Exactly.
as well.
What do you think of? There's
Yeah,
so
I
many
suppose
community
it's
groups and
method
they have
and
community
theory.
leaders.
Yeah.
How do you think these community leaders are coming out? Like they have learned to initiate at some stage of their life. And you need these kind of people. Again, you can learn it in big groups, right? Because when you are in big group, you see their variety of people because their upbringing is different. They come from some come from broken family, come from quite a rich family, poor family, middle class family with restrictions. Somebody has physical restrictions, emotional restrictions.
I think a home educated child also is seeing all those things.
Yeah.
I think from what I can hear from everyone else's reports and conversation is that we all want the best for our children.
Yeah.
We all have similar views on what we want our child to be, what success looks like. But that doesn't have to be molded in one setting. It can happen in any kind of setting, whether you choose to home educate or send your child to school. These things can happen in any kind of setting. I don't think that there is a right or wrong. Every family has their own needs and requirements.
Yeah.
And I don't think, I could say, home education is the best way, everyone should do it. It's totally dependent on your family, on your lifestyle, on your child.
Yeah.
It's a personal choice.
It's a personal choice. 100%.
I think you touched on something earlier, which Urvi's building on now as well. I think that the most important thing a child can have is a happy mother and a happy father.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if home educating is a cause of stress, if you're thinking about home educating,
So
you have to
okay to be at
account for the
school.
fact that you still have to cook, you still have to clean, and maybe you've got other kids in different directions. But I think that the best gift any of us can give to our children is to be a happy, connected, present parent. And so whether that means, like you said earlier, you take some time out and you've recharged your own battery, or whether for some of us that means that I feel so content that I have the privilege of spending extra time with my child before they go into an institution somewhere. Whatever that is, for me, For me, the key, you've got water there if you need it.
I finished it. I'm dying here. It's all right. She's making a point and I'm just coughing all over it. No, I love it. You guys have naturally come to a crescendo, an actual understanding. I think it's irrelevant of where they're educated. I don't know if you have anything to add on this.
No, I do agree. I think it is a personal choice.
Yeah.
It's what happen, what you can make work for your family, what is right for your child. We're all trying to do the best for our children. I think, for me personally, we started off home educating because it was during the pandemic and I never actually
Forced
knew
into it.
The
about,
situation.
No, not really forced into it.
The situation came in and that's how you adapted.
Yeah, I think the situation just opened my eyes to the fact that this is a possibility, and then seeing how my daughter was thriving, not necessarily following the schoolwork, but what I ended up doing with her. And so just taking it from there. And she, from my perspective, it's also about lifting the ceiling. We often talk about lifting the ceiling of women and girls and our career progressions, but actually that ceiling is already tight in the schools, and you mentioned earlier, Swama, that often the schools are working at the lowest common denominator. But if you have a child at the other end of the scale, that ceiling is there. There is no, okay, you're capable of doing something extra. It doesn't matter about your age. You could be 9 working to GCSE level, or you could be 9, still learning to read. It doesn't matter. It's taking the child at where they are at that point in time and really trying to nurture that and bring, and just sort of work with them and build that connection and trying to move them forward. And I think in a class of 30, you cannot cater to every individual.
That's the problem.
We're talking about 30 kids here. I come from India. So we used to have 70 kids in one section.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and we used to have nearly 2 or 3 sections. And single teacher was handling the stuff. Obviously, in secondary school, we had subject teachers, and they used to come when the bell is ringing and the teachers used to enter. Anyways, we all were talking about the success, right? We all want our kids to be successful. For me, success means my kids should be aware. If they're aware of things, then they have won half the battle.
Yeah.
If they're aware that I don't have to have the peer pressure of having long nails or having a particular hairstyle, or this is the dress up I have, be individual.
Yes.
It's okay. People they have their own trends. Who are the people who are influencers or people who are trending? They did something which caught the eye and everybody's following them. What is that following? We need to understand. It's just that don't be
man, I don't want to open that kind of worms. Influencers, like, listen, if someone's dancing there over a viral trendy song, they're not influencers. They're just jumping on a trend.
But
I don't ever want to bring up my kid and say, you could be like that too.
No, exactly.
Like, come on,
It's not that.
like,
But they have
that's
a
new title coming up.
exactly. But there's something in them which is like, even if it's bad, I want to see what it is.
No, do you know what?
Even
I
if
was
it's not entertaining.
having a competition. Not a conversation. Sorry, with with this certain turmoil of things happening at the moment. And I was sitting there, like, again, to bring it back, like just learning to cook a bit more, learning how to grow some own vegetables, and understanding photosynthesis. And at home at the moment, I'm going through a situation. I look at all the plants. I'm like, how are you all green? My plants are all dying. And so it's little concepts, understanding how reality of world goes. And I love what you said about forest schools, going out, experiencing outdoors, but I also love the discipline. So I think, like, what it comes down to, because I have to wrap it up, as we're going for ages, and this is like a whole lesson, mate. 22 minutes attention spans normally, right? But I think the bottom line is you have to put, if you want your children, definitely in any age, you have to put in extra hours, and it's not just school.
Of course, definitely.
I agree it's only 6 hours, and I agree 6 hours. Like, both of those are the same thing. It's a big chunk of a day. Average kids are really going from 12 to 13, 14 hours a day. They have to go sleep at some point unless they're on the phone.
Yeah, exactly. And then Saturday, Sunday comes. It's not that they are free, they have nothing to do. No, that's where our
I got ornaments to polish.
Exactly. They have, like, from morning 9 o'clock, they have the schedule. Like, you have to go to the cricket class or extracurricular or anything. But studies do not miss out on the weekend as well. So the curriculum. So I know what my child is learning from Monday to Friday. If he's learning phonics, I will not let him forget in that Saturday, Sunday.
What's your
weekend.
son's name?
Summer.
Summer, listen, this is going to be on YouTube, right? I know what camera that's. Summer, this is going to be on YouTube, yeah? You're 3 years old as of today. Watch this when you're about 11, and this is what your mum was like. So that hard life you've had growing up, Bachana, that's your... I'm joking. Summer, I hope you turn out to a good lad as well.
There's a good strike of balance. I'm a very good fan of, a very huge fan of a saying that freedom comes with responsibility. So there is a freedom, but there also has to be a responsibility associated with
Balance
that.
of everything.
And I think that's exactly what home education strives for.
I would say it's only homeschooling. I would say the school should also be part of their system, of their learning system, upbringing, because ultimately doctors, engineers, you can't homeschool doctors, engineers, right?
You
trust
can.
you
can.
trust
I
the
have to stop you there. You can.
no
And
you
there are
have
home
you
Like,
trust
wouldn't that buy?
you
Bring your
trust-
own body.
you
There's
trust
home
the
educators
professionals.
who have been to top level universities, and I want to
But you
understand.
trust it.
Now,
But
isn't
you
I'd like
trust
to
the
understand your
professionals.
point of view.
No,
Of
I'm just
why
saying-
do you think a home educated child cannot reach that level?
I'm just saying, you trust the professionals, right? So
Okay.
education deserves that respect as well. If you're unhappy with the system,
But they'll
that's
be
a different
qualified.
aspect. But
It
you
doesn't
can't
mean that your
can't
child is not
exit-
capable of learning to that
No,
standard.
I'm not saying it's not capable, because that's
They
again
can
comes
become
at
a
the
doctor or whatever they
it
want to
becomes the
become.
individuality as a person. My parents wanted to be like an engineer or a doctor. No, I wanted to do something different. I took my stand, and that confidence came to me not only by school, but at least I think that's something which your inherited genes as
Sona,
well. The rebelliousness.
Sona, 1 second. If my child was homeschooled and they were your doctor, would you not trust them?
No, I'm not saying.
And would you know if they were homeschooled?
I'm not saying I'm like homeschooling. I'm not.
No, I'm just straight up yes or no. And this is not judgment.
I would-
No
I
one
would
judge.
lit-
Yeah, back off.
I would
no one
literally
judge.
go by how much. If I have to go to a doctor, I will go by how much experience that person is, how much hands-on experience that person has got. I will not go only by academic marks or something.
But I'm
Because
sure.
I don't know how. See, I would say
Yeah, it's like a pilot. I'm sure they'd have to clock up hours
there would be
in
something.
something.
Would you
Yeah,
be
it's the same with
asking your
doctors.
pilot every time you fly? Would you ask your doctor how many hours experience?
Yeah, of
have
course.
You got?
I don't
You
even
would
look at the
ask that?
degree.
Exactly.
I don't even. There was a time I was born in the UK. There was a time when I was younger, I would think I'd look at Indian people, think, oh, he's got an Indian degree, it's less value. I think even when you came over, doctors from back over, when they came over here, had to take an extra test
Exactly.
to practice, right? And they said it was all about the language, but it wasn't. It was other stuff they had to learn on there. I forget what it's called. A couple of my family members had to take it. And only when they started doing it, understand that this is red tape that you got to jump through. But it's interesting. It's interesting what you said there. Because I'm not trying to put you on the spot there, but I think it's actually
I can
very
join you
interesting.
in this discussion.
Yeah, jump in as well.
Because the science labs, what we have in school, you cannot get all the apparatus, all the stuff at home.
Can I just
You
interject?
can. Okay,
Can I
Ooh, there we
interject? I just want to
Homeschooling,
interject with this.
right?
We have access to, in so many institutions, especially living in London, we have this privilege. Our children go and do workshops. My daughter has done workshops at the Royal Institute. She has done one on forensics in December, which was, I think it was a KS3, KS4 level. She's primary, by the way. And she has access to all of these institutions. And that is where they work in teams. They learn how to collaborate. They work with different children. They don't always see the same children all the time. So they're learning to navigate that social dynamic as well. And so they do have access to that. They do have access. But I think there is such a misconception
100%,
about what access and availability of resources and, that we have
They have
available as home
access to
educators.
everything, if not more than a school does.
Yeah,
I would like to ask a question.
Yep.
What are your concerns of people home educating their children so that we can clarify these misconceptions? Because every time I tell someone I'm home educating, whether it's a family member or a friend, they will ask me 100 questions. And every single question they ask me is all a misconception. It's how people don't actually know anything
So
about
where-
home education.
Where can we go to learn? Because this, I
Speak to
think,
people like us. Don't make a judgment. If you want to speak to someone about home education, ask the question.
so you mentioned there was groups. How do I infiltrate these groups?
There are so many home
That
education
sounds very
groups.
espionage, but
We have areas, whether it's Hertfordshire, Brent, Harrow, it's done in boroughs, and there are
Facebook groups, WhatsApp groups where people come together from all types of backgrounds, all sorts of diversity, all age groups. They come together. We learn together. We socialize together, parents and children. And I know there's a lot of misconceptions. So I want to ask the question, what do you understand about home education, and so that we can help clarify?
That would be fantastic. My concerns when it comes, or the questions when it comes to homeschooling is, not everybody can afford to be with their kids all the time. We all have to have this work-life balance.
To trust
right?
the system.
And then we have to trust some institutions or organizations where my kids are going to be educated, they will be literate. And again, the life skills which they have to learn, because
Life
some
skills
point
such as
life skills as being a team member. Right?
dealing with
But
other
because
people.
if I'm all the time with my family, my mom, my dad, my siblings, they are my comfort zone.
But they're not with us all the time. They go to these drop-offs.
But we know
they
each
go
other
to-
very well, right? As a family. But if now you and me, we are strangers as of now, right? But if we have to work as a team together, you might have a different opinion. I might have a different opinion. But then if our boss is standing there and he says, as team, I want to have this product. So we have to sit together. Like, the difference is what we have with each other. We have to solve it and then again come as a team. But if I'm there with my family all the time, okay, I'm your elder sister, you need to listen to me. Okay, I'm your younger brother.
Hierarchies.
Somewhere we will play that. But how do I deal with this?
In our home,
this
there is no hierarchy. We will sit there and we'll listen to our children. We will respect what they say, and never ever have I had this conversation to my children that your sister is younger, you need to allow her to do this. We have the conversation, we're all equal. And that's where the learning comes into it, where the younger child will have to learn, you need to wait your turn. Just because you're the youngest, it doesn't mean that you're going to be able to go first at the game every single time. So that's, whether it's with family or whether it's when I drop my child off to forest school, or she's at an art class or another group setting where I'm not there, she's got the tools because we've learned it at home. She's got the tools and she's taken it outside of the home. So those type of life skills are 100% learned within that setting. Other life skills such as, learning about finance, cooking, baking.
These are life skills,
home.
isn't it? Like, that's more borderline
but
life
that's
skills.
what my
aren't they?
point is, Urvi.
No,
When you
they're
left
not.
school, did you know how
No, they're not.
to navigate and manage your
I
finances?
knew how to draw around a 50p or recognise a 50p
Exactly. But did you know
through a
how to navigate your
hexagon and stuff.
finances? No, it's something
Yes,
you learn
it's
at
Very
home.
true, very
Certain
true.
points we learn out from the families, okay? And as I said, you're a good bunch literate people, okay? And
We
you
learn
can
parampara
afford
from the
yeah,
families.
parampara, pratishthan, all those
That's
stuff.
what we learn, isn't it?
So you can do that, but not everybody can afford to do that. And again, it's a personal choice and interest as well. Even if I had the choice of being at home, homemaker, I was homemaker for a good 13 years when I came to this country. I was there with my kids. I chose to be that, what you people have chosen to be that. But also simultaneously, I was doing some voluntary job because I was losing myself as a human.
Yeah.
I did so many voluntary jobs at that time. Then I started my radio journey, all over whatever my career is. I wanted to be myself. And hats off to you people, genuinely, that you are trying to balance your life and the kids' life as well. So the discussion is all about what we think about, what we favor, because we all have our reasons.
And that's up in our own capacity.
Yeah.
In our own capacity, how much we would like to do.
Yeah.
And it's not about just convenience. As in, there is a little bit of element of convenience as well.
Yeah.
So ultimately, we are humans. We are humans. We have our own emotions and we have our own work things. So I did not leave my corporate life after having my son, or even before having my son. I chose I will balance both. But like, he should have a exposure. Like, I'm talking about exposure. Exposure to the world outside our home, and then come back to the safe place that, okay, now I'm back home. This is home.
I'm gonna put my foot in it, probably get cancelled and everything. We are quite short on time. But one thing I think, again, and I don't know if it's down to the panel or opinions, but it seems like there's two people that came from another country into this, and there's some people that seem like they were born in this country. And I think you guys are showing your preferences based on what you needed and we're trying to give to our kids.
Yeah, I would say like, it's like we came, as in at least I came in 2011 to this country from India.
Right.
To seek some opportunity, right? I came here
So
for
it's very
opportunity.
important to adopt
and education
the country.
is their opportunity. So why not they should be part of that system.
and take the opportunity and learn something with the help of
Whereas
the
over you
system
might have grown
and
up
with
in the
the help
system,
from the family.
and it's
Yeah,
not.
and it's the same thing. Like when I was explaining to my parents, this is the route that we're taking. We're going to home educate. Obviously, they weren't supportive at first because and
Fair,
you can't
it's
blame
so
them
new.
for that because education is their whole. It's everything. You know, they came to this country to provide us with education, and to them that was everything. But we know more now, you know, and it's okay to question the system. It's okay to question things that are deemed normal in society.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to push back and say, no, this isn't going to work for my child, you know?
Do what you think is right for that as well.
Yeah, I think our parents are from a generation where they were so grateful if all of our parents and their siblings made it through university or even to university. And it is a real privilege, especially for our generation of British Asians, to have the opportunity to say, Mum, Dad, I get that this was a big deal for you, but this is a privilege that I can actually say no to it.
Well, we have a choice,
And just
isn't
one
it?
generation
Back
before, they
then,
were
you
begging
know, from
for
our
it,
parent, my mum, you know, like we came up in Shardport, there was in the school. She started at the first girls' school in Shardport, and she so proudly, I still go and visit her, so proudly. She's passed away, but, you know, there's a big thing. So I think that's a very key point here. It's not about who's right or wrong. But, and again, like I said earlier on, all of us are very, not me, I ain't got kids, but like all of us are very proactive on kids' education and how they integrate into children. I'd love to meet the kids one day.
I think we've all got the same goals, haven't we?
But that's beautiful, you know, when two sides of the same coin, bottom line. But I'd love to one day, the people that do homeschooling, I don't know how we'll do it, but if you can send me some literature or maybe come back one day and we can do a live session where we actually bring up question and answers about it. Because I think there are a lot of misconceptions, you know, we'll do out there. Because, you know, Sona, I think you're very brave to, you know, and I targeted you and I hate to target you on that, but it was a very interesting thing what you said about the doctor. You know, like, for example, I have this conversation. I ask everyone that I go, when you're flying, how important is flight safety to you? And everyone's like, number one, I go with the safest. What do you fly? Emirates. How many times have you looked at a safety report? Never. Not once in their life. And there's a massive problem with the A380 Airbus that Emirates flew, and you can watch the documentary. They flew, and their quote unquote was, until there's a fatality, they don't need to ground it. So do we really look at things like that? I'm not singing them out because I potentially do go for a lot of checks, but that's just the logic of it, how much we're going. I think there's an important thing there. Yeah, I naturally, my isms, I go see my GP, he's got an accent. I'm like, oh, you know, he's not going to get me. He doesn't know my issues. You know, I go to someone, I might be suffering cancer. I'll go to see a GP, but they've never had it, so I don't trust them. But you don't need to have it to be able to teach it. So fundamentally, it's about being proactive with children. If not now, after COVID, we all need to address it. How much is a school doing? How much we need to do it as well. I think it's a pleasure. Anyway, thank you very much. Hopefully we can do it.
Thank you.
That one. It's been awesome. Some awesome points there as well. And that's it. End of another episode. It's probably one of the longest ones that we've ever done. But it's a very interesting topic. And it's not just interesting for something to gossip about. It's your future. If children are the future, and if you listen to the show, you know, you see young children. I've had messages from mums, dads saying, Donnie, because you play their voice notes in the morning on radio, they're more confident. It hurts the children when they get it wrong, but do they stop answering? No, they carry on. So bottom line is, be proactive with our children. At the end of the day, we chose to have them. Yeah, I know we had a comment earlier on saying they choose us. No, we chose to have them. We're bringing them into the world, so we need to give them the best we can. And you do that by subscribing to Lyca Extra. Just look after your children, each other, have the conversations. No one's right or wrong. You know, it's all different perspectives. But if you enjoyed what we talked about, again, you can follow all of our guests. You can ask them, I hope you can ask a question. They're busy teaching and looking after the children. You know, you never know the go on. But always email us here at Lyca Extra. Go onto our website. You can get the email address. Email us with any questions. The team, Kush, any of us, Raj, anyone will pick up on this, and it's something we need to know. Any questions, just get in touch with us as well. You've been watching Lyca Extra. We were talking about homeschooling, but corrected it because it's called home education. Like, subscribe, follow. Peace.
This is Lyca Extra, the sound for the British Asian generation. A part of the Lyca Radio Network.